that's the worst thing that could happen to anyone. Rocky's coach was telling Rocky that he wouldn't be able to face Mr. T because Rocky became civilized. Funny, but McGregor's fight with Poirier reminded me of the rabbit and the turtle. Welcome to Movie Takeaways. In this show, we discuss and talk about the important takeaways from the great movies we've watched. And without wasting more time, let's start with today's movie, Rocky 3.
3 years ago, you was supernatural. You was hard and you was nasty. And you had this cast iron jaw.
I want a shot at the title. That boy's got the guts to meet me in the ring or anywhere else. He can't duck me forever. He can run, but he can't hide.
Rocky's coach was telling Rocky that he wouldn't be able to face Mr. T because Rocky became civilized. And that's the worst thing that could happen to anyone.
But then, the worst thing happened to you that could happen to any fighter. You got civilized.
Basically, it's getting comfortable. You start reducing your effort, and without realizing, your performance starts dropping too. This usually happens after achieving a milestone. Before achieving that big goal, you'd be dedicating all your energy into achieving that goal. You'll make the necessary adjustments. If there's an area that you need to improve in, you'll work on it until that goal is achieved. But after achieving that big goal, you tend to relax and you lose that hunger to continue improving. Because unintentionally you start saying to yourself, why am I still torturing myself? Getting comfortable after a big achievement can happen to anybody. We see it happening to regular people, we see it happening to stars. Let's take football stars for instance. They're not all like Ronaldo. No matter how much he achieves, he still pushes hard to continue and get better. Getting comfortable and becoming complacent doesn't just happen to individuals. On a bigger scale, we also see it happening to nations, to big companies. After they've been leading for a good period of time, they get comfortable and lose their drive to continue improving. Let's get back to the movie. We notice a big difference in the way Rocky was focused in part 1 and 2, and then how relaxed he became in part 3. After he became the champion, he became constantly busy with ads, involved in different projects, as well as spending time with the family, which all contributed to him being distracted and not having the time or the energy to train like he used to. On the other hand, his opponent only had one focus, and that's to beat Rocky and become the champion. So while Rocky was busy with this project, Mr. T was training and preparing to knock Rocky out, and sure enough, he put Rocky to sleep.
This guy.
You fight him without me.
Bell boy in the corner, out on his feet.
New heavyweight champion of the world, Clubber Lang.
I can't think of a real example closer to Rocky 3 than Conor McGregor's loss to Dustin Poirier. Before Conor becoming the champion in UFC, he used to finish his opponents within seconds, including the champions. He used to knock them out within seconds. But after he became the champion in his division, and then he became the champion in 2 divisions at the same time, his name grew to become one of the biggest names in sports, and that's when he started dedicating a lot of his focus into business and other projects, and in 2016, Conor McGregor announced his retirement from UFC. But 2 years later, Conor announces he'll return to the UFC and he'll beat the champion, which was Khabib. But we all know how that went. Khabib destroyed Conor and made him tap out like he predicted. A few months later, for the second time, Conor McGregor announces his retirement in 2019. In January 2020, Conor returned again to UFC and defeated Cowboy Cerrone, who's actually a nobody. I mean, this guy Cerrone, before losing to Conor, he lost against Tony Ferguson and also lost against Gaethje by first round knockout. Nonetheless, this win was important to Conor, especially after his loss against Khabib. After that, Conor stops for a whole year, returns in January 2021 and gets knocked out by Dustin Poirier. You might find this funny, but McGregor's fight with Poirier reminded me of the rabbit and the turtle. Of course, we know who's the rabbit and who's the turtle in the story. The rabbit was running his mouth for being so fast and was making fun of the turtle for being so slow. Much to the rabbit's surprise, the turtle challenged the rabbit to a race. Obviously, the rabbit accepted and was like, "This turtle's so slow, this spot'll be a breeze." The race began and the rabbit started running so quickly he left the turtle in his dust. Halfway through the race, the rabbit was so far ahead he couldn't see the turtle anywhere. So the rabbit decided, let me rest for a bit and take a short nap. That's when Conor got busy with his projects and retired from the UFC. Meanwhile, the turtle kept walking on and on without taking any breaks, which is Dustin Poirier, For 6 years straight, he never took breaks, just kept improving and developing in the UFC. Going back to our rabbit, he's still fast asleep. When he woke up, he realized the turtle had already passed him and reached the finish line. If we make the comparison with Conor's situation when he was sleeping or taking his break from the UFC, other fighters kept improving and developing their skills. So it's much harder for Conor to become the champion again. Not impossible, but it's a lot harder this time. No, I'm not saying that you should never take breaks, but you cannot afford to relax to the point you get too comfortable, because that's when you lose your momentum and then it gets hard to gain it back again. That's the process of how a person or a company loses their edge. They become complacent, they stop making effort like they used to, while their competitors continue to improve and evolve and innovate until they've caught up or even surpassed them. Losing your drive. Another downfall of getting comfortable is that you lose your drive. When you are working towards something great, you already know that you have to sacrifice your time and energy. But if you don't get clear on the reasons why you have to make those sacrifices, you won't have the drive to make them. You see, your drive comes from the information you give yourself. That's why it's important to visualize and remind yourself of the rewards you'll get if you achieve your goal, and second, the pain you'll suffer if you don't achieve your goal. We usually use visualization to imagine and track the great stuff we'd like to have in our lives. But what I want to bring up is we should also use this powerful tool to imagine the pain we'll go through if we don't pursue our goals with everything we have. Alright, let me give an example of the pain kind of visualization. Imagine you're supposed to wake up early the next day. When you hold yourself back from sleeping late that night, it's usually because you don't want to go through the pain of waking up tired the next day. So you can use the fear of pain to drive you to do the necessary things you need to succeed. Alright, so these were my takeaways of the movie Rocky 3. Now you tell me what were your takeaways of the movie. Put it down in the comments, like the video, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm your brother Hisham Yahyai, and I'll see you in the next episode.